All right, thank you all so much for joining us for today's webinar, Exploring the Value of Custom Rates. This webinar is part of our Utility Rates webinar series where our team is going to be discussing various topics about ever-changing utility rates. The webinar, this one is going to be a little bit different from our past webinars. We recently did the PG&E and the SCE proposed rates as topics prior to this. And today we're going to actually be talking about features within Energy Toolbase regarding custom rates that can help you with modeling solar and energy storage projects. Not many people, including a lot of our users, know that we do provide custom rate schedules for you guys. They're a game changer when it comes to modeling your projects in Energy Toolbase. And we get tons of questions about them, like why you would need one, how to get one if you do need one. So we wanted to talk a little bit more in depth about it, as it can get pretty confusing at times. Today's webinar is going to be a little bit shorter than usual. We'll probably do about 30 minutes plus Q&A. Our speaker joining us today is Julia Krivchenkova. She's one of our senior utility rates analysts, and she's in charge of creating all of our custom rates for our users. A few quick housekeeping items. This webinar, like always, is being recorded, and we're going to email it to everybody who registered, whether they attended or not. So feel free to pass it along to any coworkers or employees. As usual, like I said, we'll have Q&A at the end of the webinar. So chat your questions into the chat box, and we will try to get to as many as we can. And if we don't answer them during the webinar, we will respond via email to your question. So here's a quick look at today's agenda that we're going to be covering. We are going to start with global rates. Global rates are different than custom rates, so we'll be showing you the variances between the two, and we're also going to be going over when and why you would need a custom rate and what we need from you in order to make that happen. Special programs and third-party suppliers, those can also get pretty tricky, so we're going to be highlighting those instances as well. Then Julia is going to jump into the Energy Toolbase platform to show you how to create a custom rate from a global rate in our platform. If you aren't an Energy Toolbase user, I do want to stress that's totally fine. The stuff that we are going to be talking about in this webinar will still be helpful for you when you're modeling projects. Utility rates, accuracy, and analysis is the most important parts of modeling solar and storage projects. So understanding every aspect of them goes a long way for you guys. So I know most of you have been on webinars with us before. So you guys have a little bit of an idea of who we are, which is awesome. But for those of you who don't know, we do have our own in-house utility rates team who's in charge of creating, reviewing, and activating utility rates in our database. Right now, there's more than 40,000 global rates. But again, we do create those custom rates for our users and get tons of requests. And Julia is the one that works with our customers to create them. There's more than 20,000 of those custom rates activated in Energy Toolbase right now. So with that, I am going to pass things off to Julia so she can break it all down for you. Julia, take it away.
Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Julia, and I'm a senior utility rate analyst here at Energy Toolbase. My primary responsibilities here at ETB include processing rate requests, offering support to our customers, answering questions, as well as maintain our utility rates database. And today we're happy to be hosting our third webinar in the utility rates webinar series. And this one will be dedicated to a very special feature Energy Toolbase offers, creating custom rates. These are accurate and detailed rates specific to your project. Daily, we get a lot of questions about the rate aspects of the projects our customers are working on, whether it's about the popular rates in the region or a new rate your client will qualify for, or a program they may enroll in, or simply a rate that is not in the database yet, but I will touch upon that subject in a minute. Like Teresa has mentioned, we are the only software platform on the market that has our own in-house utility rates team that's constantly tracking and updating rates across the world. And our database currently includes over 40,000 unique rate schedules, which we consider global rates. Our data team updates these rates depending on the utility's frequency and activates them in the database as soon as the new charges go into effect. And you may have heard us mention global and custom rates, and there is a difference between the two. A global rate means a standard rate that includes the same charges applied to all customers under this class. They can be seen in everyone's accounts based on the utility you select. Most of the rates we maintain pertain to secondary voltage, but we're always happy to add rates for primary and transmission voltage customers, but we will update such rates per request. Whenever there is a variance in charges, additional charges, or specific to this customer adjustment or discount, this is when a custom rate needs to be created for your client. So how do we add rates into our database? Energy Toolbase is a user-driven platform, which means we add rates per request rather than the utility territory, since we eventually maintain them. We simply want to make sure we do not overload the database, and this way also make sure that all of the rates are actually being used. So any rate you already see in the database was requested at some point in the past, but if it appears that the rate you're looking for is not available, it could be that the rate hasn't been requested before, or it matches our custom rate criteria. We say this all the time, but we're always happy to add any other rates you may need that are not currently in the platform. What is also important to mention is the fact that before a global rate activation, it goes through a two-step process, meaning that after being created, it is sent to another data team member for review. Since Energy Toolbase is obsessed with accuracy, this approach allows us to make sure that all of our charges have been accounted for correctly. So how do we determine whether we are creating a global rate or a custom one? It is really easy when we work with 12 months worth of bills, and we stress the point of giving us 12 months worth of bills because it allows us to have more accuracy with the rates we create. This may sound like a lot, but a lot of things can actually happen in 12 months period, especially if you're working with a large customer. They may either increase in size, therefore switch rate schedules, enroll in a program to start saving, change their electric supplier, and so on. So when we review a year worth of bills, we always look out for those factors. So if it happens that no unique adjustments have been found and all information is available for us to use, we create and activate the rate globally. Like I said, a global rate is available and visible to all ETB users, and it will populate under Energy Toolbase rates in step 2 of your energy use profile. When creating rates, we also always rely on utilities' electric tariffs, rate sheets. We may also reach out to the utility for verification and confirmation of charges or applicability details. Another point that I want to mention is the fact that large utilities are mandated to provide detailed rate sheets, historical information, pending and approved filings, which really facilitate the process of adding the rate, while smaller utilities, co-ops, and municipalities reserve a right to keep their rate information confidential. And this is another case when bills come in extremely handy. So if after reviewing the bills, we notice an adjustment, enrolled program, discounts, exemption from certain charges, complex billing structure, or third-party supplier charges applied to customers in deregulated markets, we create a custom rate. Bills allow us to verify the applicability of those charges, whether it's a percentage that applies only to a certain portion of the bill, or whether the charge varies greatly throughout a year and we need to create additional seasons to take this variance into account, or simply apply an average to account for the entire year. It is also worth mentioning that custom rates are not maintained in our customers' accounts. And by that, I mean that in cases when a utility came out with an update to their rates, this custom rate in the account will not be updated to reflect those changes. So now let's touch upon third-party suppliers. When working with third-party suppliers, we notice charges being as simple as one line item or too complex, inconsistent, have their own usage associated with them. Supply charges vary by region, provider contracts and aren't usually provided to the public. So working off of actual bills helps us create an accurate rate that is specific and unique to your customer. In cases when 12 months worth of bills are not available, any number of bills at this point would be extremely helpful. We're able to work off of as few as one bill, but if your customer's supply charge is not contracted or fixed, you may notice variances in totals when comparing to Energy Toolbase. Also, customers have the ability to edit any aspect of their custom rate, which allows them to make any changes, for example, if additional bills became available. Please note that all bills are treated as confidential and are used strictly for the accuracy of the rates for your specific customer. In cases when you have bills but plan on using interval data, we always prefer to obtain it as well for testing purposes. Since we always want to make sure that the rate is accurate, it is important that we get a chance to compare the totals entering both bills and interval data. What is also important to take into consideration is the fact that rates involving alternative suppliers like Constellation, Nextera, Direct Energy, and many others are created under an actual utility that your client is a member of. For example, a Southern California Edison rate with Constellation as the supplier will be created under Southern California Edison. Ohio Edison rate with Direct Energy will be created under Ohio Edison. So third-party suppliers won't be found as separate utilities in Energy Toolbase unless it's a California CCA, but we will get to it in more detail in a separate webinar dedicated to it. It often happens that when a customer elects to purchase electricity from a third-party supplier, they may start receiving those bills separately. That means their delivery charges from an actual utility and generation charges from the supplier may be billed on different electric statements. And this is an important aspect to consider when it comes to requesting such rates, because in order for us to get started, we would need to have access to both bills pertaining to the same meter and with corresponding billing periods. Different meters, even under the same account, can have a different supply charge applied to them. So we want to make sure we have matching data to work with. So now let's move on to special programs. If your customer is enrolled in a special program, we will review the utilities website and all the information available on that program to determine whether our global rate will simply have an attribute, or will be created as custom. On the slide, you will find a few examples of special programs that require billing custom rate for. Those include real-time pricing options for Illinois and Georgia customers, PG&E Family Electric Rate Assistance, SCE Summer Discount Program, Automatic Power Shift, Base Interruptible Program, and also some medical baseline rates for IOUs will be created as custom as well if there are multiple allocations that apply. If the utility provides the information that's incomplete or limited, we will have to create a custom rate strictly off of the bills. So now I want to jump into the Energy Toolbase platform and walk you through a few rate features that ETB incorporates to give you a better idea of our database and the process of creating custom rates. Energy Toolbase is capable of numerous rate structures. Let's take a look at the flat rates, and our flat charges can vary by max annual demand or units or max monthly demand. Energy charges include structures like time of use, tiered within a time of use structure, or with tier ceilings vary with demand. Demand charges include structures, 6 different structures, time of use and flat rate, tiered, and we also have the ability to account for ratchets and various demand definitions. ETB also offers a helpful, efficient, and convenient feature which allows our customers to create a custom rate out of the global rate already available in the database. And I would like to show you this process, which lets our users create a new customized rate specific to their project within minutes. So let's just take a look at the residential rates in the Public Service Electric and Gas Company for New Jersey territory. So to access our rates, we'll go to View All Rate Schedules. In Filters, we'll search through the utilities and we'll find the one that we need. For example, PSEG New Jersey. And once selected, we have all the globally available rates populating for us. Next to the rate schedule, you see a green button, which means we can copy the rate. And once it's copied, we can make any changes to it, including the rate name, seasons and time periods, as well as make changes to the actual energy charges. So let's go ahead and copy. And let's rename it to third-party supplier, since we want to assume that your residential customer is taking supply from a different source. So when we go to the energy charges, we notice that underneath the blue line, our global rate includes the charges pertaining to the bundled utility service, which means the customer takes generation from the utility. So in this case, let's just remove those. We'll apply the supply charge we would like to use. Let's assume the charge will apply to both seasons. And then underneath the general info, we will activate the rate, save the changes. And when we go back, we will notice now a blue sign next to the rate name, which means now we can always go back into the rate and make any other changes we may need. So like I mentioned, there is an energy use profile, which we will use specifically for New Jersey territories. So we'll find our New Jersey lead. We'll go into our energy use profile, and now we have the correct utility selected. And underneath rate schedule, now we have the residential rate located under Energy Toolbase rates, which means this rate is global. When you have a global rate selected, you have the ability to view every effective date. That means whenever a utility came out with an update, we created a new rate for it, reflecting the new charges. Now, if you take a look at the user-defined rates, you will notice the residential rate we just created, located over there. And when we select that, we do not have the ability to select a different effective date because custom rates are not updated in the accounts. So this is the way we get to create a custom rate out of the global one in Energy Toolbase. We're always glad to assist you with any rates, simple or complex rate structures. To request a rate, you can simply reach out to your dedicated account manager or direct it to me, and we'll be glad to assist you. With our 24 to 48 hour turnaround policy per meter, we're able to recreate practically any rate that your customer is on.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Yulia. It was pretty straightforward. Again, this is just something we get so many questions about and not a lot of people know about. So we wanted to kind of show you the process and tell you a little bit more about it. We do have a few questions coming in, so I am going to get to those. And so the first one, we have mentioned this, but it's always good to talk about it again. What if I don't have 12 months worth of utility bills for a customer? Can custom rates still be created within Energy Toolbase?
If 12 months worth of bills are not available, we're still able to create a rate if a utility provides their rate information. We always want to make sure that the charges are obtained through the utility. In cases when the utility does not provide any rates or may refuse to provide any rates to non-members, we can only rely on the electric bills.
Okay, the next one is regarding utility territories. Is a user able to add utility territories that aren't in your database and system?
We maintain multiple utilities in the database, but it may happen that the utility you need is not available in the database, but customers do not have the ability to add new utilities. If you would like to see that utility in the database, you can simply reach out to us via email, and we'll get that done for you.
Awesome. I am trying to get to all of these. What are your capabilities of creating international custom rates? Is that a possibility?
Absolutely. We currently already include international utilities for Australia, Great Britain, Canada, Costa Rica, Germany, Brazil, Colombia. You may notice, you may see global rates underneath those utilities. You may not. It depends on how the utility presents their electric tariffs. But we absolutely are always glad to add new international utilities as well.
And that's a good point to just quickly bring up. Energy Toolbase is you can model in all 50 states and international as well. We do have those international capabilities, so it's just good to mention that right now. Another question here, is there a limit to how many custom rates can be requested and put into an account?
There is no limit, and we're always to work on as many rates as you may need, as many as your project requires. Just send us all the supporting information. We'll get that started for you.
Okay, a few more. So here's one about a third-party supplier. So we have to have the bill from that third-party supplier and the utility to get a custom rate. What if we're missing one or the other?
It often happens that the customers are billed on two different, they may receive two separate electric statements. It's not always the case. Sometimes the utility will have the actual supply charge, even from a third-party supplier, already printed on the same electric statement. If it's missing, if the supply portion is missing, we can apply the supply charge that you wish to use, or maybe we can apply a historical one from any bills that we have available for your customer.
Okay, let's excuse me, let's get to probably one more. Here's a good one. So if there's a global rate active in my account that just needs a small change to it, do I request it from you or can I go in and change that as a user?
As a user, you can always copy and work on any global or custom rates in your account. If we understand that our customers are busy, so we are always there to help. And even if it's small change, we're always glad to go ahead and get that done for you.
All right, so like I said, this is going to be short and sweet. We don't want to take up too much of your time, but I do really want to stress the fact before we go is that we are the only software platform that does provide this kind of service to our users. You can call up our team and have that custom rate in your account in a matter of days. So our customers are extremely important to us, and if you're interested and you want to try us out, you can get the first 2 weeks free, and with that 2-week trial, you will be able to request custom rates, as many as you want, and you'll also have that account manager to help you navigate and learn the platform and help anyone on your team train. So again, there's just nowhere out there where you can have these custom rates at your fingertips, which is an awesome feature that we provide. So be on the lookout again for an email from me in the next couple hours with this recording and also a link to sign up. You can also go to our website. So thank you, everybody, and have a great day.